I decided at some point, I'd read an article about the two psychologists who had, created and sold the CIA the idea of enhanced interrogation. And as I started to get into it, I realized that there was only so much that had become unclassified. And I called Senator Feinstein's office and said, is there any way I could speak to the lead investigator or anybody involved in creating the report? And I was put in touch with Daniel Jones. And it began this long dialogue between Dan and I about not only the report and the CIA's program, but the process of getting a report out. And I decided that was the story that I really felt I wanted to tell, which was the story of a guy trying to tell the truth and trying to get the truth out, and how he became this sort of tracer bullet through our political system.
This is a report talking about the CIA's secret torture program that even President Bush didn't know about when it was running. And by accident, it was exposed because the CIA was actually taping these interrogations. And then the New York Times found out about it. Not only were they taping, they destroyed the tapes. So that's when the whole ball got rolling on trying to figure out what happened. And ultimately, what they found was that not only was it illegal and immoral and unethical, it was ineffective. They didn't get any actionable intelligence from all of these hours and hours and over how many detainees? 118 people that we tortured, we America. So when the facts started to come out in this report, the CIA really tried to block its release. And so the movie's really about that. Diane is a hero in the story, as is Dan Jones, her staffer, whose force of character really we all benefit from, because now people can read the report. You can buy the report. There's a summary.
It's online.
It's online. You can read it yourself and come to your own conclusions about what our government chose to do. And a lot of people in the CIA objected to it. That's an important thing that we want to make clear. We're not indicting the CIA here. We're saying there were a group of people making choices that the rest of us find abhorrent. And the system of checks and balances worked. We figured it out. It's now out there, and people can come to their own conclusion.
I think there's a big part of the American psyche that wants to believe we're the good guys.
Yeah.
Always. And if in the long view, we are. But that doesn't mean that it's 100%. Sometimes we mess up. And the point of the film, the point of, I think, being an adult about a lot of this stuff is own your mistakes, correct them, don't make them again. That's how I was raised. That's, I think, how most of us were raised. Don't stick your head in the sand and plug your ears and say, oh, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. Don't deny, don't lie, don't obfuscate, don't kick it down the road. Own them, get past them, and fix them, and then don't do them again. And that's what transparency is. That's what accountability is. That's what checks and balances are. That's why we have 3 branches of government, not one.
And Feinstein, her speech after this is really beautiful. Anybody can also watch that. She said, look, the point of this is that we're admitting it, okay?
Right.
Unlike some other countries who do this kind of thing, we are standing up, we are saying it's abhorrent, it's wrong, it's illegal, and we are big enough to say that and admit that it happened and say now, never again. And then she and McCain passed an amendment after this was all revealed, saying, once again, it's illegal.
Scott has told the story with such clarity and precision, and it's easy. It's a very complicated thing that happened, but it's easy to understand the way in the filmmaking. So to say, do people want to know about this? I think they should want to know about it, and they can. You can understand a very dense thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 parts to this. There's a discussion about torture, and recent polls show that still half the country thinks that it's an effective way to get intelligence, and yet, in talking to a lot of intelligence people and law enforcement, it turns out it's not, and other countries know that. And America, occupies a place in the world where if we do this, then we open up, the door to a lot of countries doing this. What's to stop the Saudis from renditioning people? And it turns out they are. And it's because of us. And so until we step forward and say, we're not doing this, this is something that is unacceptable. So there's that part, and then there is what John, spoke about, which is it's a movie about how our system is meant to work. And I think that moment should resonate with people right now when we have so many investigations going on. And when we have people calling legitimate investigations into bad behavior a witch hunt, that's frightening to me. That is not the America that I thought I lived in. I mean, I'm going to just speak for myself, but I do feel we're one, terrorist attack, one sort of tragedy away from people going back to that place. There was a psychologist, and I can't remember his name, who said that Dave, that violence is an attempt to turn shame into self-esteem. And I think that that's what happened at the CIA, and I think that that's something that, we're very susceptible to.
We have a lot of public officials who were part of this program who are very much in the public eye right now. And I will be really interested to hear what they have to say if they see the film. Because one of the things that happens in the dramatization of this is there are people in the room who are sickened by it. People who worked in the CIA that said, I'm quitting. I can't be a part of this. And there were other people who stayed. And I think we fairly try to dramatize why people were driven to this kind of behavior, why the CIA, after 9/11, felt this kind of pressure that they had to do these things. But there were a lot of people that didn't agree with it, that found that they were sickened by it. But we've got a lot of people who are named in the film, as well as many others who aren't named, who were part of it. Yeah. And if they want to go on camera and have a debate about what the questions that this film raises, I think that's healthy. I think that's great. It should happen. I hope it happens.